Hi everyone, this is Debbie from Project 39 Mini Albums. Today I'm going to show you how to make this mini album. This mini album measures 7 by 7 and the pages inside are 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. I'll show you how to make the hinge and binding system too. The great thing about a 6 1/4 by 6 1/4 page is you can take your 6 by 6 paper pads and use them, or if you have 12 by 12, just cut them into quarters and they can fit smack dab in the middle of the page. So what I'm going to be showing you today is how to make the pages, the cover, and the binding system. Now I like to make just the base pages, just square pages with the pocket, so you can add whatever you want. As I go through my papers, then I decide if I want to add pockets or flaps or waterfalls or whatever. So I'm going to show you just a couple of features that you can add. There's a complete walkthrough of this mini album on another video, and I'll link that above. But I just want to show you a couple of things that you can add as you go through your paper and see what you have. So inside, so this is a flap. It's 6 1/4 by 4 1/2, and then I scored it so it fits on the page right there. And then on all 6 pages you're going to have this hidden photo mat. The page being 6 1/4 by 6 1/4, the photo mat could be the height would be 6 inches maybe, and the width as long as you need it to, if you want a tab on it or something. So here's another pocket. This is a side pocket just put on the page. This page has a couple of photo mats. A lot of the paper collections include lots of cut-aparts. So on this one page I took some of the 3 by 4 cut-aparts and just added a bunch of flaps on this page. There's actually 4 flaps on this page with the 3 by 4 cut-aparts. There's a magnet holding it. Now this page has 2 pockets. So this has a 4 by 6 cut-apart in the top pocket, and then the 4 by 4 cut apart right there. So that's another feature you could add if you wanted to. And of course there's the hidden photo mat. This is a great representation of just simple, a flap on one side and then the pocket on the other. That pocket is a 4 by 6 cut apart, and then inside the pocket is another 4 by 6 cut apart. So that gives you a couple of ideas for different things you can add. And as I said, I'll link this video below. So this is what we're going to be making today. Right, the first thing we're going to do to make the mini album is cut the chipboard. Now I have 12 by 12 sheets of medium weight chipboard, and I'm going to cut 2 pieces 7 by 7. Now I save these because you can do other fabulous things with. I mean, who throws anything out anyhow? So there's 7 by 7. I'm using, this is an old style Fiskars rotary trimmer. It's got the titanium blade and they last forever. It's a little off by like probably 132nds of an inch off as far as the measurements. But if I don't try to line it up straight, just start it here, it works fine. So anyhow, this cuts my chipboard and it cuts my paper. Okay, so there's 2 7 by 7 pieces. Now this is a 7, I think, by 5 inch piece, and I'm going to use that and cut it. We'll make this one 2 1/2. It's going to be a big, thick book. So 2 1/2. So you'll need 2 pieces of chipboard 7 by 7 and 1 piece of chipboard 7 by 2 1/2. So go ahead and get those together. All right, the next thing you're going to need is whatever cardstock you're going to use for the base. I am using the 65-pound black cardstock, and I'm going to take 1 piece, and on the short side I'm going to put Scor-tape. I'm using 3/8 of an inch and burnish it real well. You can use 3/8, you can use a 1/2 inch, you can use a 1/4 inch. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that much. Now we'll pull this off, and I'm going to use the grid to help line this up. So I get, oops, the paper shouldn't have gone there. So I get a nice straight line. When I'm putting this down. There you go. So now I have a nice long piece of paper. Now what I'm going to do, and I'll do this in fast motion, is, and I'll probably use different size tape, I will take my Scor-tape and put it around the perimeter of all three pieces. So I'm going to do that now, and we're going to do it in fast motion because it's probably pretty boring for you. Okay, and now that that's done, we're going to make sure that we burnish that real well. Now, what we're going to end up doing is putting this here. But in order to get it down straight, you could either eyeball it, or you could draw a line. So it's going to be probably about 3/4 of an inch, as long as you draw a line on one side. So, or you could score it, and that's probably what I'll do right now. If you're not sure of exactly how to put it on straight, go ahead and score this. So I'm going to score it at 5/8 actually. And of course the scoreboard isn't long enough, so I'm going to turn it upside down and score it here. Or if I were smart, I probably would have scored it before I taped them together. But it's just to make a line. It doesn't matter which side it's scored on. Alright, I'm going to take the tape off of this. And yes, I didn't get the tape up to the edges, but that's okay. And now I'm going to take my ATG. So you could use ATG, you could use your art glitter glue. I'm just trying to get some more adhesive on this so it doesn't bubble up. If you only had it around the perimeter, then you would notice, especially on the larger pieces, that it would bubble up as you know, it just won't lay flat. So anyhow, now here's the thing about this. So this is the edge of the paper, but on the back side, the edge of the paper is about here. And that's where the center of the chipboard should be. Now, it's not critical. It really isn't. You're going to cover it up with paper, but some people like things to be balanced, and that's how I am going to try to teach you. All right, so that goes down like that. See, here's the center on this side, which is different from the center on this side. You'll see. Once you put it together, you'll see. And I'm going to do the same thing with the square pieces, the 7x7 pieces. Take off the lining backing of the Scor-tape and cover it with some ATG so it doesn't bubble up. Before I put that down though, I'm going to take my 1/4 inch Scor-tape and I'm going to go from about the top of the page to the bottom of the page, right up to the chipboard, and burnish. And now I'm going to put this down, lining it up with the edge of the Scor-tape and the line we made on the bottom. So I'll do that on this one as well. Put some 1/4 inch Scor-tape, and I go all the way to the top of the paper, even though we're going to fold it over later, and burnish. Peel it off. Oops. And again, I'm lining it up with the Scor-tape on the side and the line we have made on the bottom. And there we go, and that is perfect. Now, while this is upside down, I'm going to take my bone folder and make a crease so I know where the edge of the paper is. I'll do it to the top as well. And this side too. Okay. All right, fabulous. Now, what I need you to do is cut off paper here on a diagonal. I'm going to get out my white chalk marker. So you're going to cut it. You're going to stay about 1/8 of an inch away from the corner of the chipboard. You could get out a ruler if you wanted to. Just go slow. It's better to make it bigger rather than smaller. But either way. So that's all done. Okay. All right. And now I'm going to grab out my Scor-tape again and put it on the perimeter. So I'm going to go all the way across here. All the way across there. And then at the edge as well. And burnish. Now, I have seen some people who will put more Scor-tape on the edge of this. You can if you want to. I mean, that way you know it's going to stick down real well. You could also use your ATG gun, and you could also use a liquid adhesive. You just have to make sure when you're using a liquid adhesive that you know it's going to be nice and strong. I like using art glitter glue, but different people like different things. Now in this case, I'm going to just use my ATG along the edges. Okay, and then I'm also going to grab my art glitter glue. So I have a pin that goes in here, and some people have these dangly things on their pins, but I have some magnets in there held on by tape, and I just stick the pin in there just so I don't lose that piece. And so on the diagonal portions, I like to add a little bit of art glitter glue. I'm just going to do a little bit. And I'm just going to add some in here as well. And then also right close to where the chipboard is. Now I've already sort of scored it, so this will make it bend and fold real easy. I just sort of make sure it's got a good crease in it, pull it towards me if I need to. And now that I know that it's down, I'm going to burnish that real well. And I'd like to do the long sides first. So I'll go ahead and do this one as well. Okay, and then grab your bone folder, and where the corner is here, for the top one, I'm going to take it and push it down and pull it towards me. For the bottom one, I'm going to push it away from me. So you're just flattening that little corner that sticks out. You go ahead and do it, and you'll see what I mean. And I'll go ahead and grab some glue and go along that edge. Pull that tight, push it down. Sometimes I'll take my bone folder and just push it down there just to make sure it's nice and flat. Of course, my bone folder probably needs to be cleaned a little. All right, same thing here. Push that down and push that corner down too. Now, when you're starting out, don't put glue all over the whole thing. You know, I did on all 4 sides. Just do it one side at a time that you're working on. You don't want the glue to dry. But I know I was going to be pretty quick. All right, now that that is done, I'm going to take it, grab my bone folder, and go along the top edge. I like to do that because it makes it nice and crisp. And I get such satisfaction out of that. And then go along the edge. And there you go. Okay, now I'm taking the heel of my bone folder and pushing gently, because you don't want to rip the paper. You just keep pushing until the adhesive meets and flattens out. And then fold it. And there we go. There is your cover. Now just put this aside and let's move on to the next step. Okay, here we're going to make the hinge. A lot of people think this is scary. It really isn't. It's just a matter of making a couple of creases in the paper. So the hinge is going to be a smidgen smaller than the size of the pages. My pages are going to be 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. But before I cut this paper like that, so I have 8 1/2 by 11, I'm going to have it 11 by 6 1/2. So I'm going to cut down 6 1/2. Knowing that I will trim it down later. All right, now I'm going to do, put in my creases. So there's going to be 6 pages in this mini album. Okay, so here's a graphic that's going to show you how we're going to be scoring the paper. So there's going to be a wing on each side, and then there's going to be a hinge, hinge, gusset. Hinge, hinge, gusset. Now my hinges are going to be 1/2 inch. And my gussets are going to be 3/8 of an inch. You can change that if you wanted to. If you wanted a 1/2 inch gusset because you like to put flowers on your pages and it gets big and chunky, you can do that. But you just have to remember to do 2 sets of hinges and then a gusset. And you can add more pages if you wanted to too, or less pages. So maybe sketch it out ahead of time and figure out exactly how large you need it. So I'm going to read off the measurements as I go ahead and do this. So again, I'm going to leave a wing on each side so there's room to go on the mini album. So I'll start at 1 1/2, 2, and then 2 1/2. So that's your 2 set of hinges. Now my gusset is going to be 3/8 of an inch, so go to 2 7/8. Now we'll do 2 hinges, so 1/2 an inch. So 3 3/8, 3 7/8, and 4 1/4 for my gusset. For 3/4, 5 1/4, 5 5/8, 6 1/8, 6 5/8, 7, 7 1/2, 8, 8 3/8, 8 7/8, and 9 3/8. Okay, so that is what we have. Now this one doesn't show, it shows just 4 hinges. It doesn't show 6 hinges like we did. Okay, that's what we have for that. Now, again, don't forget, this is bigger than what we need it to be. And that's okay. I'm going to take my 3/8 of an inch Scor-tape. I'm going to flip this upside down so you have the bumps facing up. And I'm going to put the 3/8 in the 3/8 gusset. Now, I'm not worried about going edge to edge. And I'll show you why in a second. So go from the bump to the bump and put down the 3/8 of an inch Scor-tape. And we will go ahead and burnish in just a second. Okay, so there are 5 gussets. So you see 5 pieces of Scor-tape. Now I want to put one on each of the outside. So I'll put one before we even started with the hinge on the wing, and another one on this side. Now I'm going to go ahead and burnish. This tape to me is the most important part of the book, so I always like using the Scor-tape. I'm using now, though, for the hinge, I'm using this scrappy tape. I'm using a 1/4 inch, though, not the 3/8. But I got this at scrappypal.com, and so far I like it. It's just as strong as the Scor-tape, but I'm testing it. I put some together and threw it in my car because it'll get, you know, hot and humid, and we'll see how it lasts during those conditions. But you know what I like about the scrappy tape is it peels off so much easier. All right, so anyhow, we've gotten the gussets with the 3/8 of an inch tape, and we've gotten 2 on the wings. Now we're going to be matching the gussets up. I don't know if I have another graphic. I want to make sure the gussets stay together. So I'm going to take my 1/4 inch scrappy tape, and I'm going to put it just on one of the hinges. So I'm going to put it on the hinge closest to me, right up against that Scor-tape. Now you could do it on both sides of the hinge. I'm just doing it on one side, and I'll show you what else we do to it in a second. All right, so 6, because there's 6 hinges. Okay, now let's flip this over, and we're going to put 1/4 inch scrappy tape on the top part. So these hinges are going to make a mountain, and I want there to be scrappy tape on 1/4 inch at the top of each of the mountains. So we're going to put some here and some here. Now let me show you on my graphic. So we're going to put it on this top part of the hinge, and this they're going to be facing each other. I'll show you. If I just would do it, it probably would make more sense. And let me okay. So here's one hinge, and here is the other. So then we have a gusset, and then we have the two hinges. So we're going to have this facing each other. And again, this is 1/4 inch tape. You could use Scor-tape. I've seen people use glue, but I like using tape for this part. It's less messy, and if for some reason it doesn't stick right away, you can always go to the undo. What is undo? I'll show you in just a second. Let me finish this. All right, this is undo. It's an adhesive remover. It's not cheap. It's like $12 or $13 for this. But here's the thing. It's lighter fluid. If you have access to, I guess, a smoke shop, I don't know, you can go get lighter fluid. It evaporates and doesn't leave any residue, so you can pull off something if you've made a mistake with adhesive. Not if you've used glue, but if you've used adhesive. Okay, so it looks really messy, and it is. I'm going to trim it down now. So I'll take about 1/8 of an inch off the side. And then I'll turn it over. And so, as I said, my pages are going to be 6 1/4. So I am going to go 1/16 of an inch less than 6 1/4. So it'll be 3/16. So it'll be 6 3/16. Just a slight smidgen smaller. And there we go. So I know when I put my adhesive down, I'm messy, but I also know I'll make it look pretty by the end of the process. Okay, now we have this facing towards us. These are the hinges. And what I want to do is fold exactly where those two pieces go together and burnish on all 6 of them. Fold and burnish. We're not taking any tape off, we're just going to burnish. Okay. Now, so this is the magical part. So now we've got these hinges that we've burnished. Now what I'm going to do is I'm laying it flat, and I'm going to pull them up and make them into a mountain shape and fold them together. Doesn't have to be permanent, we're just trying to train the paper to fold. I'm going to try to move my camera so you can see it at an angle. Okay, so now we have it at an angle. So we'll start with the flat one. So we've folded this, we went like this, and folded that piece and did all the other ones. So it wants to fold that way. So I'm going to pull the paper, scrunch it together, so these will stay. It'll do it. It wants to go that way because we've started training the paper. So there we go. Now that I've done that, That's how the paper wants to go now. All right, let me put the camera back. Okay. All right, now I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to peel off the one piece of 1/4 inch tape that is in the hinge. No, yes, that's in the hinge on all 6 of them. Okay. Now I'm going to grab my art glitter glue, which is grabbing all sorts of things because of the magnets, and put some in the center of the mountain. It's now the valley because it's upside down. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge because it'll squirt out. I'll show you. I do all 6 at once because I'm used to doing this. Now I'm going to gently turn it upside down, and I'm going to do the same thing I did. I'm going to pull these towards me. It's trained to do it, so it knows it wants to. And we've already peeled off the tape, so it knows it wants to stick together. And so now you've gotten these 6 hinges that are together. Going to take my bone folder, push them one way, and burnish. And you'll see you'll get glue squirting out. Now gently push it the other way. Make sure there's no glue on your bone folder, and burnish. So I'll do it a couple of times. You want to make sure that the hinges know that they're supposed to bend. You're just reminding them of what we're training them to do. All right. Now it'll go either way for you. So if I turn it on its side, now you can see it. And then that's what the underside looks like. Simple enough, right? All right, now I am going to take a pair of scissors. I'm going to just take my scissors and cut off just ever so slightly. Just like that. So I'll do all 6 of them on this side. You just want to go down to where the edge of the tape is. You don't want to go any further. And then I'll do the other side. Okay. Now we have a hinge. We have the cover. Let's put it all together. So before you peel any tape off, eyeball it. Figure out where it's going to go, because once you've put this down, you can't really take it up again. I'd like to tell you, take a piece of, take a pencil and make a line, but if you do that, it's going to show, so you really can't. All right, so just eyeball it and figure out exactly where you want to do it. So you want it to be centered top to bottom, and you want it to be centered on the spine of the book. So just, again, eyeball it and know where you want to do it. And then go ahead and peel off all of the tape. And turn it over again. And you already sort of know where you want to put it. So just take a good look, place it down. If you don't like it, you can lift it up because you haven't adhered anything yet. And then what I usually do, I'm holding the wings. I'm going to take my finger and just gently go in the center one and then the one next to it, bending the hinge, and then the one next to the center, and then the one further away from the center, and further away from the center on this side, and then here. And then before I do anything else, I'm going to take my bone folder, and where the fold is on the book, I'm going to gently push this paper down so it'll go right into the fold. It's going to stick up. So I'm going to add some glue. Both sides. Push it down. Now, if there's going to be glue seeping out, I want it to seep out onto the chipboard part of the book, not out onto here. But if it does, it's no big deal. It'll dry clear. All right. Now, this has to dry. I'm not going to fold it until it dries. So that, we're going to put this aside, and we're going to start working on the pages. All right, now we're going to make the base pages. So you'll need 12 pieces of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. I'm using the 65-pound weight. I'm going to put 6 aside, and I'm going to get my paper trimmer. And we're going to cut this first set of 6 pages to 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. So cut 6 pieces, 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. You'll want to save the scraps because you can use them. I'm not sure we'll be able to use these, probably, but definitely save those. We'll definitely use those. And then the other pieces, the other 6 pieces, you're going to cut 6 1/4 by 7 1/4. So cut 6 pieces, 6 1/4 by 7 1/4. And you'll need your scoreboard again. So with your scoreboard, you're going to, so this is the length here is 7 1/4. This is 6 1/4. We just need to score the 7 1/4 inch pieces, and we're going to score it at 1/2 inch and 6 3/4. So 6 pieces you'll need to score like that. Okay, now I'm going to grab my Scor-tape. I have my 3/8 of an inch Scor-tape. So this is the side that the indentation is on. I'm going to turn it over and put Scor-tape on both sides here. All right, grab your boom folder and burnish. All right, now take your scissors and I want you to trim the corners, all four corners of all 6 pieces. So I'm going to go to the outside to right there. If you're afraid that you're going to trim too much, then start at the fold and go out. All right, now that we've got all 6 pieces trimmed on the sides, I'm going to adhere the 6 1/4 by 6 1/4 to the 7 1/4 by 6 1/4. So peel off the paper backing, and then I like to line it up at the top and then the sides. Make sure the side is lined up because it's going to be a square piece, so it'll fit nicely. And then just push it down and grab your bone folder and burnish. And that's all there is to making the page. All right, so now the pages will go back and forth. Now I would start at the page furthest away from me, and the reason we put the 1/4 inch score tape at the top of the hinge is because that's going to tell you that's where you want the tube to go. So you're going to put it on the hinge, but you're not going to put it all the way down to the bottom of the hinge. You want it just on the top of the hinge. So I'll go ahead and take off the adhesive backing on one of the hinges, but both sides, and take your tube. I'm going to try to do it in an angle so you can see. And we're going to put it on there so it is straight on, and then push down. And we're good to go. Now, of course, if you're not, grab your handy dandy undo and do it again. No harm, no foul. All right, let's do the rest of these and get the pages in. So now that I've gotten the first page in, which is nice and straight, I want to make sure the rest of the pages are straight too. So when I put this one on, I'll pull this one, the one we put in first, up and make sure that they are the same height and they're not cattywampus. Push that down. We'll burnish it real good in a second. So take off the adhesive, slip the tube in onto the hinge. I'll pull up the pages, make sure they're straight. I'm going to move the camera up for a second. So you can see the whole thing. Alrighty, we've gotten the pages in. Go ahead and take your bone folder and gently burnish both pages. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There is your base construction of your mini album. Now, I'm not going to do decorating on this one right now, but I will in the next and another video. You also need to, I have a couple other tutorials on my channel, so don't forget to subscribe. And plus, I'll be decorating this book down the road. But basically, if you have a flap, then just cut it about 1/2 inch bigger than what you need, and then put it down. There's different things you can do with pockets. Don't forget to put in something in this pocket page. So this, again, is 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. So you can take your 6 by 6 papers and put it in. You can take, if you have a 12 by 12 pad, you can cut it into 4 pieces and do a couple at a time, a couple albums at a time, a couple of pages at a time. Cut as you go, though. I wouldn't cut it into 4 pieces because you might want to take these, cut it down to 6 1/4 and make a flap out of it. Or you can make a long flap out of it, you know. It is your book. You can do what you want. But anyhow, thank you for joining me for this session on how to make a mini album. This was a 7 by 7 mini album, and the pages are 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. So again, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can see other videos on how to put together mini albums. Thanks for watching.